So availability of technology for them. So I think it's an initiative which the school has to take, because obviously the government still looks at driving the higher education space much more than providing sanctions to K through 12 schools, which is largely a privately driven institutional body. And I see going forward, technology will become a part and parcel of any admission criteria or any sort of ranking criteria for a school. It's no longer going to be brick and mortar and playground and things like that, because that's an essential, and so is technology. It's like you're having a school which does not have access, to internet, does not have access to local networks, and again, it will all limit the content that they have. It will all limit the exposure the teachers are going to have. It will further limit the exposure students are going to have, which will eventually get us back to the stage where we start comparing. The students are not ready for tomorrow. There's a huge gap when it comes to not just China. China's far ahead. I'm saying probably we are, in my opinion, probably we are as good as being close to Vietnam. China is very far ahead in terms of advancement. So that's the reality, and I think all of us in this room are very capable people on both the sides, and we should look at how we can really bridge the gap.
I would like to just add out here. In fact, in my presentation, I was just saying that, I'm just adding on, it's imperative. It's like this, that, the technology innovation or the innovation cycle, which I was talking about in the banking, or you look at the logistics or various places, people have got wiped out if they have not adopted. It's like shape up or ship out. Like you'll find a lot of people coming in, Amity has come in, you have so many other schools coming in. I was citing the example of Andhra or some other places where seats are lying vacant. Why is it that way? Because the students are very clear. They want to go to a place which gives them the best of the education. So in today's world, I would say that it's moving really fast, rapid, and for all the teachers and for all the principals and the eminent people out here in this from this sector, I really want to urge them that take this up so seriously that it's kind of a situation wherein if you don't do it, you're not going to be there. Yeah. Exactly. That's it. Thanks.
Yeah.
We do also have a learning management software, right. Entire solution on that. We can talk about it later. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to touch upon was basically about efficiency in terms of there are a lot of institutions which are actually growing in number. So so from 1 they become 5, 10, 20. And each of them, they actually use an assortment of technologies. I mean, not really a technology which is very integrated. So in your presentation, I saw about specific systems and stuff like that in place. So this question is to you, and all of you, basically is about the importance of having a definitive plan, a long-term perspective towards choosing technology.
True. In fact, I'll just add. If you look at it, we've taken this initiative in a very serious way. And what we are saying is, being a tier 2 system integrator, we have tie-ups with all the vendors, whether it's Microsoft, HP, and all that. What we look at is the pain points, or when we go to a school, we try to understand what is already there. And then we build, and kind of another challenge which the people face is, okay, what is the adoption happening? We kind of work towards that also. You take a phased approach. You do a phase 1, and then you look at what has been achieved, how it has to be adopted. Because if it is not adopted, there's no point going further. So we work completely in a holistic way and give a complete solution, which is on a time frame, like it's a phased approach which we have.
Altaf, one question is basically about, there's a lot of content that we talk about when we talk about education. There's a lot of information being generated within the campuses, going out of the campuses or coming in. One of the concerns that the schools have is around security, right? So I wanted to understand from you, what is the importance of security from an education sector, and what is the recommendation that you would have?
Thanks for the question. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Altaf. I represent Kaspersky. Really like to thank VARINDIA for hosting such a good show today, and it's been a very informative thing for us also, because personally this is the first time I'm actually interacting with such a good audience, related to education. Coming back to the question that I was just asked about security, security is actually one of the most critical part, when it comes to whether it be a education institute, whether it be a corporate house, or even it probably be an home. So it's more of, me saying that security is like a journey, it's not a destination. I still remember when I had started my career selling antivirus software around 18 years back. I had a call when I went to one lab, which was doing a course on computers. It was a education institute itself, and I was told to remove my footwear outside the lab. Okay, I removed it. I went inside, and after my meeting, I asked the guy like, "Excuse me, sir."
Like that need a huge amount of investment, so they should ensure that they're optimizing the monies that they're spending to the best, and the campuses or the infrastructure that is getting done is delivering the right sort of expectations that the college or the university has.
Tarun?
Okay, I think the one answer from a technology perspective is obviously cloud computing, but just to simplify this jargon much in a grassroots level, is that in a distributed kind of environment where you have multiple campuses, for example, let's say Amity, they have I don't know how many schools across the country. The idea is to have consolidation of their basic hardware at one place, and have the other schools utilize the computing power of that hardware through the internet in very brass tacks, which also means that they deploy their servers in a server farm that they create in one institute, or they deploy the software in one place, and then again the entire gamut of institutes utilize that. Again, this has to be supplemented with various parts of hardware, which Himanshu is better adept to answer. But in a very simplistic form, I think that will help them harness the power of computing, as well as also optimize their investment rather than setting up servers and infrastructures in all the institutes.
Okay, I have a slightly longish answer to this. See, today we are seeing a lot of universities, private sector universities which are coming up, and they are trying to differentiate from each other. They are trying to make mark for themselves. Earlier we only had, as Professor Raghavan also pointed out, 5 IITs. So if you wanted to do mechanical engineering, the best institute to go for was IIT Kanpur. And similarly, if you wanted to do electronics, you would come to Delhi and so on and so forth. Now, when you are trying as an educationist, you are trying to make mark for yourself. The proof of the pudding is in eating. And the proof is the students who are getting out of your university, getting out of your college, how well they get placed, how well their career is shaped up. To do that, you need to bridge the gap between what you teach as a standard course and what the industry needs. Because when you bridge that gap, that student differentiates himself from another student, from another college who doesn't have that kind of exposure or certification course, etc., etc. Now, if I may elaborate upon that, that's like a mechanical engineering student today works on an AutoCAD or a SolidWorks. These kind of softwares are given to colleges or universities on educational license, which are 99% discounted on the normal price that you get in the market. But if you run it on a PC, then you are not doing justice to it. Because in the real world, that software works on a workstation class machine. So that is where you need to take a step further. Do a limited exercise, but get the infrastructure which is so close to the real world. At the same time, giving the benefit to the student in terms of certification of those courses. Now the student, when he gets out, he obviously is far better equipped to answer the real world queries as compared to a student who's worked on desktop on an AutoCAD, and when he presses an enter, he goes and has food, and then he goes and has sleep, and then he comes back and still the sand clock is ticking. So that's just one small part. Second, more importantly, have the content created by your own faculty. Share the content of other universities, the best in class universities with you, because this content is typically free. You can go and have view a lecture from an MIT professor on YouTube or on the MIT site, and that content is free. Similarly, an IIT professor giving lecture on civil engineering, that content would be free. So give that student of yours exposure to that content by creating a digital library solution within your college. And keep, absolutely. And then what tops it all is a networking. So you can have a Wi-Fi network, you can have a wireline network, and a combination of that. All these standards are kind of interconnected to this, so it doesn't matter. But in the end result that you are getting is you are exposing the student to the best in class education on all fronts. And that is what will change his life. And in HP we say, this takes
misrepresented, or I will say that pervertly represented on Facebook. And she was laughing at it. I learned something from her. She never mentioned that. She was not looking very disturbed, because this is the cons of the technology. As I said, pros and cons. It was the cons of the technology which is becoming a challenge rather, but to tackle this challenge with wisdom, that is more important in today's date than we are still in the mindset of, I will say, medieval India, or I will say 18th century. We should not stay in that mindset. I should never take teachers as an ideal figure, touch me not figure, and teacher considered to be the, what in our mythology also it is better than or more than or the more important than God. No, all these things are there. We have to respect that. Teachers cannot be replaced by technology. I have spoken in the first time, and Professor Raghavan also mentioned this. He remembered his teacher, Dr. Rajaram, an ultimate name in the computer teaching. And he mentioned that how he used to use the blackboard methods and used to make it the latest method of learning. Likewise, we have to break those barriers. We should not consider ourselves now as a reserved personalities as a teacher. Why can't we reach or touch the lives of the students? We have to connect. That is what latest technology, in my personal opinion, it matters. Connectivity is lost. In today's case, most of the time we feel that, oh, these days values have gone down like anything. This is what most of the time we say. In our time, as if that was the most glorious time. And I have asked my students also, those who have just passed out 10 years, sir, in our time. I am also saying, in our time. And my student is also saying, in our time. And the present student will also speak to his next generation, in our time. So this in our time will always remain. Sooner the better we should realize that we are creating citizens for the future. I am not speaking, it is John Dewey, he is a very big educator of his time. John Dewey has said that most of the time while teaching students we forget that we have to prepare them for the future. In fact, talking of those old dated values, I am sorry, I also belong to that value. I value very much. Truth has to be valued all the time. But the so-called values of whenever I see my teacher, I touch his feet. Only I touch his feet, but I never try to touch his values. The day we start learning to touch the values, education will have different meaning altogether. So this technology should become friendly, and we should also touch the life and connectivity, which is most important. Today's child is more frustrated than we were at our childhood. You will agree with us. I am not finding my children playing these days from my school, but I have played with my peers in the playground after the school hours also. My life was hundred of applications of this mobile.
Yeah.
And one day I saw he was reading the latest novel on the mobile. You imagine, I cannot think. So this is called ICT in schools, ICT in mindsets, ICT in the students. ICT should enter to the teachers also, and first of all, it should enter to we principals also.
Yeah.
Hats off to that madam who taught me how to handle, because it was related with her. And she was just laughing at all the things, and then call the parents, talk to the students, and things are all right with her.
Yeah, thank you.
So
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry I have taken more time, but how
Thank
ICT
you,
will
Mr.
enter, I have just
Thank you,
spoken.
thank you. Ma'am, I think we have a few minutes left. So just wanted to ask you that as a leading education brand, what are the 4 or 5 things that you would want to recommend to the universities and to the schools as a starting point? If someone wants to start adopting ICT, what are the top 5 things that you would want to recommend?
Thank you for the question. First thing, what foremost, which I think is training. That is the prime important, because unless until teachers are not going to be trained, it is not at all, you know, they won't be able to handle ICT and they won't be able to handle the technology. Secondly, I was very much agreeing with what Himanshu said, that we need to generate our own content, because we have to really think about customization, because there's plenty of things are available on net free of cost. So we need to train our teachers so that they can customize according to their own requirement, because every person, every individual's requirement is different. So we have to really think in those perspectives. Thirdly, schools should have a full-fledged plan for technology implementation, because most of the schools and principals, they will say, okay, we have created one lab and they've forgotten about it. Okay, you have to have some kind of backup plan that, okay, fine, after 3 years you need to wait out the technology, because new technologies are keep coming in. So that is also equally important. And so once you make up a proper planning, I think planning is another one very, very important aspect as far as educational institutions are concerned, where they're lacking, that they don't really plan about how to implement gradually the entire, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of training, in terms of implementation aspects of it. So that has to be taken care of. Secondly, a lot of cloud solutions are available free of cost, and I think to start with, schools should start adopting those free solutions. Then they can go in and think of their own cloud solutions, okay, because that is going to add on a lot of money matters are involved. So I think to start off, we can look into the free solutions, cloud solutions which are offered, and that will give edge to the teachers to understand what does collaboration mean actually, because many of them are really not very comfortable with the word collaboration as such. So I think these are 4 or 5 points which I feel should be taken into account when you really want to start off ICT in schools. Thank you.
Himanshu, what would be your recommendation, the top 3 things that they should be adopting?
I've said enough, so I don't want to say anything more. I would rather suggest somebody else also speaks.
Yeah. Tarun?
I think just to summarize, I think most of the points that have been mentioned are very, very relevant, and definitely would like to acknowledge and say that the most critical impact for any school will be when they start looking outwards, which is having the students ready for the future. Once they have that vision, then everything falls into place, whether it's technology or whatsoever.
Thank you. Altaf?
I would like to sum it up with 3 things. One is what I have learned from today's session is collaboration. I think that is the key. Second is making use of the content that is available. And third, something that I am responsible for, that is security. Make sure that security is also taken care of. Yes, it is. Thanks.
What about?
Well, I think most of the stuff is covered, but yes, I think one of the points you said, you need to look at every part of the, the entire system, right from the student to the teacher to the heads, the administrators. So that entire thing, it really should work as an integrated, scenario where when you're providing any sort of IT infrastructure or giving that access.
Praloy?
You know, all the stakeholders, all that has been covered. One of the key things what you said is the roadmap. You need to have a clear roadmap for your IT, deployment. Where we come into the picture is that, a lot of teachers, you need not plan actually. You can't plan because you don't know what the technology can offer. So what we do is we actually have helped a lot of schools and colleges where we go for a free, kind of evaluation. And then we give the roadmap as this is what it is, and a phased approach to looking at IT. And I think if anybody wants to look at that, I think they have to look at they have to have a vision which is very clear. They have to have a clear roadmap from any of the vendors, like us. I'm sure there would be many, but I'm saying that you need to get those roadmaps and phased approach. This is the key thing. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, panelists. I think the key takeaway from this thing has been to have a clear roadmap. That's a first thing for adopting ICT in education, in your university or in your school. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we talked about is in terms of digital content, making sure that you have a place where all the content is put together. Collaboration is something that we talked about. We talked about cost. I think he gave a very beautiful thought process in terms of how do you apportion the cost over a period of time so that we don't pay upfront because technology is very expensive. The idea is to put all of that together and security as such. So you put this entire framework together and one integrated technology piece, and that is what would be very essential when you go forward, whether you are starting out or you are a large chain in terms of expansion. Thank you.